Okay, so we're tackling the issue of issues facing women in sports, and particularly we're talking about UT's campus. We want to focus on how women are treated in the management position as well as the coaching position here at UT.
Well, we wanted to really tackle it because, as we've talked about in class, women in sport, it's not super popular. The percentage of women in sports positions, not necessarily, playing sports, but being coaches, working in the athletic departments, things of that nature. The percentage isn't particularly high. So we wanted to kind of look at reasons why, what people thought about when they studied the athletic campuses, and then what people who actually work in the athletic departments think about that gender gap.
Our first interview was Allison Smith. She is a PhD student in the sports management program, and she is focusing on issues facing women in sports. So first question, how are women treated differently than men in sports?
Oh man, that's a long question. Well, one, you can look at just coaches and pay. So female coaches are significantly paid less than men. I actually wrote about this today. So if we looked at the University of Tennessee, for example, Holly, our women's basketball coach, makes about $500,000 a year. Rick Barnes is making $2.25 million annually this year in his first year coaching here. And that doesn't include any of his bonuses. So there's a huge pay discrepancy in coaches and what they make based on gender.
How do you think UT ranks amongst this issue?
So the Tucker Center, which is run by the University of Minnesota, ranked us as a D in terms of the coaches based on gender and hiring.
And then how can we work on that?
I think when you have qualified applicants that come in, you need to think about, is a woman better for this job? I want to say that, when we hire people to work at the University of Tennessee or when we hire people to work in athletics, we're always taking the best applicant possible. But if we've got a department full of men and we've got a culture full of men in sport, if there's a woman that's equally as qualified, you need to be taking that woman in that position.
What are your thoughts on the university hiring Mary Carter-Niffen as the men's basketball director of ops?
I think that's amazing. I think that's a huge step. Would you guys say she's one of 4 in the Power 5, not even just the SEC, the Power 5? I think that's a huge first step. It's like the coach that's now the assistant coach in the NBA. She's the first female assistant coach. I think we need to be making those leaps. I don't think that because a woman hasn't played men's basketball or a woman hasn't played football means that she doesn't know the game and she's not a knowledgeable part of a group or an organization. So I think that was great to hear. That's a huge stride, and I hope that propels other schools to think about hiring other women to be on their staff.
You have anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. We do our research because we want to be the ones that change it, and we understand that that's a hard battle and that it's not easy, and we're going up against a lot of giants. But, as females, I've formerly played sports and, had worked in administration before getting into the academic side. I want that female to be able to have that chance to be an AD or to be a coach or to do whatever she thinks she wants to do in sport. I don't want there to be this stigma that she can only go this high because she's female, and that if she didn't play football, she can't be an AD. I would like to see those kind of things change.
So we also interviewed Mary Carter-Niffen. She's the men's basketball director of operations. She's worked at Tennessee ever since she graduated. She worked a few years in media relations, and then she transferred over to director of ops for the men's program. She's actually only one of 4 women to be in a men's basketball director of operations position in the Power 5 conferences. So you're well aware, one of 4 women in a men's role in basketball ops. What's your thought on that?
I'm honestly, it depends on the coaches, and if a lot of director of basketball ops want to be a coach. So that's the difference between head coaches. So if a head coach wants a director of ops that knows the X's and O's of basketball, I would be terrible at that because I don't know the X's and O's of basketball, although I'm trying to learn. But if they want somebody that's very organized and you know, a male or a female can do that. It doesn't matter. And I'm not saying a female can't be the X's and O's. It's just I'm not an X's and O's, and there's plenty of people that could do that. If a coach is looking for somebody that just, you know, wants to be the organizer, the backbone of the program, it could be a male or a female. It doesn't matter. And to me, we don't think about it at all.
About UT as a whole, even their athletic department, do you think they're doing a good job at eliminating maybe the gender gap or gender barrier?
I mean, as long as I've been at Tennessee, I've never once thought that there was an issue with gender barriers. All the coaches I've met have been they don't care if you're a female or a male. I've never had an issue with it. I don't feel anybody on our staff has an issue with it. They like it because I'm very organized, and maybe that's a girl thing. So maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, so obviously there's a lot more males in the men's director of ops position. Do you feel there's any sort of social privilege of giving it to men, or do you think it's just a matter of, you know, like you were hitting on earlier, X's and O's versus organization?
It's whatever the head coach wants in that position. And if they want someone as a right-hand man who's going to help, you know, break down film or do whatever, you know, it can be in all different types of roles. When I first got this job, I called my best friend who played at Princeton, and I was like, I'm going to take the director of ops for the men's team. And he's like, do you want to be a basketball coach? Like, I'm so confused. So that's where the world sees it, as that type of position. And it doesn't have to be. It's whatever your head coach wants. And Coach Barnes he didn't want a up-and-coming coach or a young coach that wants to eventually become a head coach. He wanted someone that can truly be the backbone and make sure everything gets done the way he wants and the way our program needs it.
We also interviewed Amanda Pruitt, who now works in media relations here at UT's athletic department. What efforts do you think the school or athletic department has taken or doesn't take to promote an environment not impacted by gender?
You know, I think one thing is, you know, with the teams combined, you know, everyone has it with the program, like the men's and women's programs combined. Everyone has an opportunity to really do anything. I was initially hired on the men's side right before the sports information office was merged, and at the beginning I was just working men's sports, and you know, I really feel like the only gender boundaries were if you work in the men's department or women's department. I never felt like because I'm a woman I can only do this, or maybe if a man could only do this. I felt like before you were limited on working in men's or women's sport just depending on where you were hired. But I feel like now you have an opportunity to do really anything, and I work with one men's program, one women's program, and one combined team.
Alright, so at Tennessee you've worked with numerous men's programs. How has that impacted you? And do you feel like you've been treated any differently or the same?
I don't think I've been treated any differently. I think because my work has spoken for itself. I think really the only difference is I've needed, you know, an extra hotel room and things like that. And that's really been the only thing that that's been different than if I were a guy, I would say.
We see that the athletic department is making strides to eliminate or try and break that gender gap. We see that we're not very great as of now through the University of Minnesota's Tucker Center. We've been given a C for our percentage of women in the athletic department. So we're trying to eliminate that with the hires of Mary Carter Niffen, Amanda Pruitt, and women in the athletic department. But we're still a ways off in terms of trying to really get a gender balance in the athletic department. So Tennessee, they're doing an okay job, but we could really do a better job.